Hello, welcome to our painting stream. This is Dice and Dungeons painting stream. Welcome. On this channel, we print and paint a whole bunch of pieces, like these dungeon tiles for Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be finishing these tiles quickly this morning. And if you're interested, the designers are on our website at diceanddungeons.com under attributions. But the main thing I'll be doing today is, this is one of those mass-produced minis that's regularly available in a lot of hobby shops. It's an elf paladin, I believe. I'm going to be working on this guy, seeing how it is. It supposedly comes pre-primed. We'll see how good the prime is. Morning, Vivian. Yeah, so I'm going to be painting up this elf paladin today. See how far I get after I finish the dungeon tiles. But to do that, I've sort of grouped my paints together. This guy's going to be done in a campaign, in our D&D campaign, has a style, an Elven Warrior group called the Tashira Noon. So I'm going to paint him like a Tashira Noon. And their general motif is green, silvers, whites, that sort of thing. So I have a couple greens and a silver here. That's going to be the armor, the main armor body. And then I have a couple grays. These are going to make up his cloak. He's going to have a gray cloak to sort of play into that silver and green theme a little more. This black and buff are going to be his body, like hair and skin. Then I have my washes, an umber and a black I'll be using. And these guys over here, I have a gold, a red, an ivory, and a leather brown are going to be accent colors. Just very small touches, little accents. So that's my plan for today, is to do that. But first things first, I have a big old pile of dungeon tiles to wash. I want to just finish these up so they're off my plate. It shouldn't take very long to wash them. I'm giving them a black wash. They've been fully painted, ready to go. They just need to be finished with a wash, basically. So that's what I'll be starting with. And I'm gonna quickly remember before I start washing and get paint everywhere to put my hair up. It'll be less in the way. Alright. This bottle always gets a little messy when I use it. Alright, we'll start with that, see how it goes. I like a cup of wash here. Hi, UO. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very flat sort of paint job right now. What I do is, as I apply the black wash, you'll see how quickly that can sort of disappear. I'm trying to make sure I get it down into the cracks as well, so you can see how much of a difference a black wash can make on something like that. Good morning, everyone. I just need to do that on every side and not forget a side. And this is going to be a bit messy That's why I'm wearing a glove. It's always good practice to wear gloves when you're painting, both for yourself and for the figure, or dungeon tile in this case. As you can see, wash is a very thin, liquidy kind of paint that spreads quite easily, but it's also, you can remove it pretty easily while it's wet still. And what it's really doing for me is not only is it toning down the paint, it's also creating variation in the piece. It doesn't, and filling in cracks, things like that. You want to flip? Here, I'll do a purple flip. There you go. Alright. So, my general goal was just to get coverage and not pull it off accidentally. But I'm going to try and be a bit quick here, because I would like to get to the elf, but I want to finish this project, basically, as much as I can at least. Is my... yeah, okay. Just making sure everything's running. Floor. And then the backs here. And set it off to dry. Alright. So, generally speaking, when you're washing a dungeon tile like this, you can't really mess it up too much. It's pretty straightforward. The main things you want to avoid are anywhere where it might be piling up or creating a brush stroke that you don't like. Or the other thing to watch out for are air bubbles. Sometimes if the wash gets frothed up from the bumps and stuff on the miniature, they can create little bubbles, and when those dry, they'll create rings on the paint because the bubble pops, and yeah, you end up with a little ring on your figure, which is not usually ideal. There are some cases where maybe you want that, but generally speaking, unless you have like some sort of gelatinous ooze or some other gooey monster, a weird ring probably won't fit. You can see we put in these brown highlight bricks. These are yellow-brown color. That's just something that creates an additional visual interest for the piece. It can, when you're dealing with a lot of gray walls, like you do in a lot of dungeons for D&D, just that gray stone alone can get a little repetitive for the eye, especially on a small scale like this. So we've included those brown rocks in there just to break things up a little and create that visual interest for the eye. Right. Things will go a bit faster once I get through these corners. The corners always take the longest. I like to do the floors while the brush isn't heavily loaded with wash, because it can get a bit much when there's a lot of wash on the brush. And I'm probably off screen here. I shifted position slightly from my normal, so I'm getting used to where the camera's located here. Alright, last corner, and then I can move on to the other pieces, which should go a lot quicker. I am running low on wash here. Go. Alright. Oops. As an unintended flip. Through with all of those big corners, so that is nice. So now I just have a pile of walls and floors basically to do, and then I'll be able to get to that elf figure here, this guy. We'll start digging into that, see how far we get. So I have a couple windows like so. These will take a minute just because you have to make sure you get the inside of the frame, but they're really not too bad. This will make a really nice dungeon when it's all done, I think. In this case, this is sort of a throne room for maybe a evil Lich King, Tyrant-y kind of guy, or maybe one of those, like, lawful goods that go way too far and turn lawful evil types. You know those. They're always fun. I'm gonna get the other window. And then there's also arrow slits here. I like to work with the most annoying to do and then work down backwards from most to least annoying. That's my general preferred painting technique. Just get the worst of it out of the way. Unless I have to go in a specific order for some reason. And then everything is sort of downhill. I do feel like dungeon terrain in general is one of those, like, it's not very flashy, but like when you have a whole lot of these, it makes a D&D session really, or not necessarily D&D, but any role-playing session really, like, pop. And it helps, like, get you in the mood and the imagination going. That's kind of why we started making them. And they're just, I don't know, they're really cool. But not the most flashy thing to paint. I think that's why a lot of people just stick to painting miniatures. Because it's a little more exciting. There's a lot more little finicky detail. A lot of people really like to do finicky detail. I like it sometimes. But I also like sometimes just taking a big brush and covering something and a lot of wash, like I'm doing here. Hi, Roz. Well, while I'm doing this, I'm going to quickly... we did take Twitch affiliate recently. We were exploring trying to stream on YouTube as well simultaneously. But we ended up choosing to go with affiliate, which means there are ad runs now. And I'm still learning all the ropes, but I'm told I should occasionally hit this button to make ads happen so that Twitch doesn't randomly decide when the ads happen. So while I'm doing these dungeon tiles and it's kind of laid back, I'm gonna go ahead and test it, see what happens. I have no idea. Did an ad play? Is an ad playing right now? I don't know. Three in a row. They were quick. Okay, well, that means the button worked. That's kind of what I needed to know. Obviously, I'm new to this, so that was good. I'll generally try and space them when I'm like getting more coffee or something like that. But I kind of wanted to know what was involved. I was just loosely briefed on it by Lexi this morning, so. I don't know if we have our emotes up and running yet either. I've been producing some for the channel because I know you get emotes as an affiliate. I don't think they're on yet because they're all on my computer. But it's good to know the button works. I know a lot of people don't really like ads, but I guess it's just part of being an affiliate. That they are a thing. it's how it's paid for, I guess. So there you go. What do I know? I just paint figures and chat. Okay. Arrow slits are done. I just have some walls left to do. You say every time who 128 asks me to do a flip, I should push the add button and then do the flip while no one can see it. So, yeah, that's the thing I'm curious about is, like, if I run the ad and then keep talking, does it, like, buffer me so it's not, and then, like, pick up from where the ad started, or does that section where I was talking during the ad just disappear? Like, does it keep streaming while the ads are playing and you just, like, miss whatever happens during the ad? Or is it, like, my stream is off for, like... So, alright, well, we'll do a test here, Roz. I'm gonna hit the add button, and then immediately, once it starts, say a code word. And then you let me know if you know the code, if you heard the code word. Okay, here we go. This is a test. Oh. Did it? I think I'm not allowed to play ads too rapidly in succession, because I don't think that worked there. Or I think they don't want you to spam ads, which makes sense. See, I'm learning so much right now about how all this works. It gave me a little, like, exclamation mark symbol, and I tried to push it. So. But when we do the test, the point is I'll say the code word during the ad, and if you don't know what that code word was, then I know that my giving out of the code word happened while the ad was running, and you didn't even get to see that content. That was sort of my thought process. I bet you could also just Google it, and it would just, there's like, I'm sure this has all been sorted out before, but, like, where's the fun in that? Sorry. What? I swallowed the wrong way or something. Alright. So... getting through these tiles pretty quick. I'm sorry. Ugh. I should have some water and not just coffee. Apparently. So, I shouldn't be too much longer on these dungeon tiles now that I've gotten through the worst of it. I just have some... Once I get through these walls, I mostly just have like floors and pillars left to do. So then we'll start walking through this elf mini that I got. And start working out how we're gonna do it. And all the steps involved. It'll be a bit different than painting a bear. That's like just browns. Endlessly different shades of brown. But I think the bear turned out okay. But once we get through these dungeons, I have 3 more walls after this, and then a little pile of floors and risers and pillars, which are just getting progressively smaller, less surface area to do. Get some more black wash. Accidentally hit something with my brush. Alright. I'm trying to be nice and quick with each of these, you know, not take too long, while maintaining good quality. Okay, 2 more walls, and then I'll probably do the inside corners next. There's only 2 of those, which isn't too bad. But it always bothers me when I have the base coat painted in, and then I just have these dungeon tiles sitting around unfinished. I'm just like, let's just get them done, because they look so much better once they've been washed. Okay, all done with the walls. Now I get progressively smaller pieces here. I'm gonna do these inside corners, which are basically just a pillar right now, and should not take much. Just a quick coat of the black wash. Alright, a bit for the floor. Nice and easy. Oh, you're trying some emojis out. Yeah, I think after I'm done today, maybe I'll try and get logged in or get the custom emojis I've been making put up. It only lets you do that one. I think it's probably because we haven't loaded. I think that's a preloaded one that happens, that one that you were doing. Yeah, you get that preloaded one, and then the standard ones. That sounds about right. I've made about 6 so far emotes. I just have to figure out how to upload them and hope that they work. Having never made emotes before. Yeah, I made one with 7s, the Boulette baby. I made one for our group name, which hasn't been revealed yet, I don't think. I did a voice one, because the voice is awesome. These are the risers here. I'm pretty close to done with these dungeon tiles here. I just have, after this riser, I have some floors, which take barely any time at all. I have, and then some pillars, which are pretty small, really. So I will be tackling my Elven Warrior in not too long here. Yeah, when you're doing a wash, you can go pretty quick. Because it's just so easy. So these are our pillars. I'm gonna hit those pretty quick too here. Just go around them like so. Hit the top, like that. I have 6 of these pillars in total. As you can see, they go pretty quick, which means once I get through all of these dungeon tiles and getting them drying, I'll be switching over to the main event, I suppose. My Elven Warrior. We got a couple of those sort of mass-produced Elven Warrior. Like there's a couple D&D companies, like miniature companies, that sell unpainted miniatures in a mass market-y kind of way, rather than like a small producer. And, you know, they say they come pre-primed and ready to paint right out of box and everything. In my experience, their primer's not good, but technically there. So I'm curious to see how it does. Hopefully it's not too bad, but you know, the big, like, they're a nice detailed figure, and I'll look at it in detail once I can take off this wash covered glove. They're a very nice figure in terms of detail and everything, but you can tell it looks like it was probably injection molded plastic. It has like a seam running on it, things like that, which, you know, it's not gonna show too much, and if you're really ambitious, you could file it off and reshape it a little bit. Like, that's definitely all doable, and the pricing is okay. You know, it compared to, so you sort of have like a few different, for figures, character figures like this, you have a couple options. You know, if you don't have a 3D printer yourself, which is, I'm just gonna exclude that because a lot of people don't. You have like you can get like a pre-made, pre-printed, painted, and it's gonna just be like a fine factory paint that's not gonna be very detailed and stuff. You know, there's nothing wrong with going that route, you know, if you want to. Just have a character figure. They can be, I feel like they're a little pricey for what you get. But, you know, you can get a whole lot of miniatures that are all ready to go, all painted, everything like that. For not terribly much money, but more money than I personally think they're worth. So that's one way. The other way is that you have these unpainted miniatures that you can paint yourself. Their price point is okay. I mean, they're generally cheaper than buying it from a small printer company, like a person. Oh, hey, Medicinal Shy Guy, thanks for the sub. We don't have all our emotes loaded up yet, but we should have them loaded up this week. Thank you very much. Oh, UO Gem gifted it. Nice, thanks, UO Gem. I'm learning all the readouts because affiliate's new for me. Oh, thank you, UO. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so these ones, you know, they're maybe a couple bucks cheaper, but not that much cheaper than like a small business printing resin prints at home or whatever. But and they're regularly available, but the quality is not necessarily the same. I feel like you get more from supporting whatever the small business is. You get a better quality thing, in my experience, miniature. Going that route than the mass-produced ones. And I can point out, I only have 2 more floors left to do here. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, when I finish these floors, I'll get to sort of my take on these figures, and we'll see how well they paint and everything like that. This is my last floor here. Alright. There. So I have a whole bunch of drying tiles off on the side, a glove that needs to get rid of because it is completely soaked. And I'm going to give my brush a quick clean here. Thank you again, Gem. So, this is our mini. Now, this guy is like slightly on sale. You get 2 in a pack in this case. I have another Elven Warrior, Paladin-y kind of guy over here. The pack's like $7-8, you know, so it's not bad. You get 2 nice minis, but I don't know how well the camera picks it up. There's like a seam running down one of the arms. and along the braid on the hair. So like you can tell it was most likely injection molded or something similar. And we'll see how well it paints, but I don't know. It says it's pre-primed, so we'll see. So I'm going to see if I can run an ad, and then we'll jump into our main event here. So, trying to learn how ads work on here. If the ad plays, I'm gonna say a word while the ad is going, and let me know if you heard it, or if it cut that section altogether during the ad. I'm kind of curious. Squatch. Sure, when we're back. I'm not sure how well that test worked. Anyway. So, for this mini, I'm gonna... You heard Squatch? Okay, you heard me say Sasquatch after I click the button, so maybe it buffers? I'm not sure. I'll read up on it. Okay, so our Elven Knight kind of guy here is wearing some armor on top. He has sort of a long Gambeson, and he has armor down below. Armored legs, and a nice sword out front that's probably going to get painted later because I'm probably going to accidentally hit it. I'm planning on accidentally hitting it. So, what I'm going to start with is the silver armor. Squatch hunters say Squatch. Exactly. So I'm going to be using this nice simple chainmail silver for the armor. The motif of this group that this guy might be a part of, if Lexi decides to use this figure, is green and silver. So the Gambeson, for example, is going to be green. And in this case, the armor I'm going to do sort of in a silvery color because it has a lot of like layers to it. I can't really put spirals into it particularly easily in at least parts of it. So I want to I should get like a before picture, shouldn't I? What am I thinking? Well, I've started painting a shoulder, but I'll turn it this way so it's facing away from the camera. Just taking a picture for the sake of posting progress and stuff online. Whoops. Flipped it. Alright. So I'm not gonna go out of my way to make a mess, but I'm also not gonna be too worried if my silver armor goes a little past where I want it. You know, I'm mostly looking at getting a base coat in right now. And as I get some paint in, it'll help define the shape a little. You guys will hopefully be able to see what's going on with this guy a little better, that sort of thing. He has sort of a lamellar, like, sheets, metal sheeted armor from the looks of things. I'm not being like ultra careful here. I just want to get the silver down into these harder to reach crevices on his armor. One thing I might do is we actually have a green wash, and I might do like a silver with a green wash over it. See how that looks. To sort of play into the theme of this guy. The hands are probably going to be a little bit of a pain, but I'm planning to do the hands themselves. He has sort of these plate gauntlets that go over the top of the hand. And then it looks like he has either bare hands or gloves going on underneath. I'm going to do those in a leather, so he has like gloves on. Which is pretty standard. I'm just trying to double check, make sure I covered all of his armor that's up on top. Not quite, but close. So that's about where the silver is on the top part, and then he has silver, it looks like plate, like boots, tall boots and stuff, down below, at least on the like leg portion. So while I have the silver, I'm gonna start getting that roughed in. And there's a fairly annoying section that's like under the Gambeson, his like cloaky skirt thing. So I'll get to do that, more of that later, I'm sure. So far, the paint's adhering okay. I was a little worried. I've had this brand before, and I found the pre-prime, they're like, it's already primed primer to be not the best. But it seems to be going okay right now. Yeah, this guy's kind of heavily armored, it looks like. And I will be doing silver on the sword, but because the sword's out in front of everything on this model, I'm going to probably be waiting and doing the sword closer to the end. Rather than getting it looking really nice and then having to redo it. So, because I'm painting over areas going forward here, I'm taking this opportunity to really get the brush deep down into the harder to reach and less visible parts of this figure. Like way down in between this cloak here. And that'll just have something so it's not just like white when you're looking at it. But alright, so that's roughly where his silver is. And I'll need more silver as we go forward. The next part I'm gonna start getting a base coat in on is his probably work on his Gambeson here. And then I'll start tackling the cloak. I'm trying to generally get the larger or more difficult to reach pieces. So I am going to start with a flat green. This is my lighter of my two greens. See how this goes. I'm sure there'll be a little back and forth. The cap doesn't really match the paint color at all on this one, so unfortunately. So we're getting up into next to the silver armor here. I'm working on defining that separation there. And it has his Gambeson here has like a little fancy section going down the front. I'm gonna do that in a highlight color, probably gold. Right now I'm just getting the basics in. It's weird. See, that's where the primer starts to go. It was just like the paint wasn't adhering there for a second. So another area I'm going to try and be slightly careful around is the bottom edge of the Gambeson here. Just because it comes up in contact with the leg that I painted silver. I might actually temporarily pull him off the stand so that I can, while he's unpainted here, flip him upside down more easily. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see, but this is where the primer that they use is not the best. in these areas that I've painted, there are little flecks where the paint didn't hold and it got pulled away and coalesced a little. And you can overcome that by painting it again and get that area properly covered, but with a better coat, you shouldn't really run into that with a better primer. It's sort of one of those annoyances that, you know, a cheaper primer can cause. So, let's go down the other side now. Sort of push the paint up and in near the silver armor. Sort of help define that line between the two. And the more paint I get onto the figure itself, the more the sort of overall shape and form of the figure will appear. In these early stages, it ends up looking quite messy, and I do occasionally like hit a cloak with some silver over here, but that part's not even painted yet, so it's not a concern at all for what I'm doing. Alright, so those are the colors of his sort of Gambeson getting into the larger, bulkier areas. The more difficult spot is going to be the inside. So you can sort of see it there in between the legs. And I'm sure this is where I will have to do some cleaning later. But I want to, as best as I can, which might not be great, get the green up into the underside. So when you see, when you're standing there fighting, blah, 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 you're not really going to see it. But if I can at least loosely get green on the underside, it will look better overall. And yeah, there's already a spot that needs cleaning. But I knew that was coming. Alright, so that's not too bad. And then there's another spot straight in back here that I want to try and cover. Very difficult. Always be squatching. Yeah, Sasquatch. So in D&D, this must be a question that someone has already asked and answered. Is a Sasquatch a humanoid, a beast, a monstrosity? Like, what's the Sasquatch type? They're the hard-hitting questions that the people need answers to. Okay, so I have a rough green put in. I like to, my general process is I like to really rough the colors in and then go in and clean them up and define the edges, everything like that. That's sort of my general process. So the next thing I'm gonna do is he has this little cloth hanging behind his sword, right down the front. Here's a little front cloth. I'm gonna do that in this darker green, a little more emerald green, to build in some color variation. So that's roughed in now. This is sort of like, there's also a backside to it, so I'm going to try and go up from underneath, under the cloak, and try and fill in as best as I can the under and back side here. Alright, see, that's a spot where the primer pulled the paint off, actually. Right there. So I have to reapply paint to cover up where the cheaper primer isn't adhering the paint to it. Alright. So we got some really rough colors put in here. I think the next area I'm going to rough in is the cloak. And the cloak is going to be done using this neutral gray. It's going to be like a gray wolf cloak to sort of play into the green and silver motif. That we have going. Clean off my medium brush here. And he has like two hair braids that come down over the very front here. I'm gonna not actively try to cover them, but they're getting painted in later, so it's okay if they get a little covered. Going along the edge of the armor here. I like to try and generally define the edges of the armor or cloak in this case as best as I can, and then I can sort of build out from there. So this cloak goes pretty far back. but you can see how much that sort of cleans up the shape of it. Thanks for the other gifted sub. You're a gem. You're going crazy. Thank you. I'm just trying to carefully go around along the edge, defining it between the armor, the cloak, and the Gambeson-y, the green. Here. So you can see how quickly just filling in the colors helps define the shapes we're looking at. As I do the head and hair, that'll help as well. But for now, I want to tackle as much of this cloak as I can while I have the gray open. So now that I've sort of defined the edge of where I'm looking, I can go and fill in all these different sections of this cloak that this guy is wearing. This stage, when you're still filling in, it always looks like such a mess, a hot mess. And you drop your paint-loaded brush, and it rolls underneath and gets covered in cat hair. So, that's going to be a cleaning of a brush. Mild pause here. Okay. A forced break and cleaning. Actually, so one thing is, as you paint it in, you kind of start to see more detail yourself. And I see up here on the cloak, he has like a little brooch. So I'm making a little note in my head here to come back and do some detail on that brooch in the future here. So I'm just going right down along the back of the cloak here, filling all of this in. This is all gonna need to get textured with different color grays and stuff down the line. But I don't know, just get this base coat in because it has this fur texture to it. It takes more paint than you would expect to get in to all of those little little cracks and crevices. And there are a couple spots here where I can see the subpar primer is kind of fighting with me. It's especially apparent in areas where there's large swaths of color. You get to see the issues with it a bit more in those cases. And then don't forget to get the bottom edge of your cloak when you're painting. It can be easy to forget. And it can be easy for a bad primer to not hold the paint. Okay, so we have our rough cloak put in. We have a rough armor started to put in. What I'm going to do is, before I tackle the hair and head, I want to let the cloak dry a little. You don't want it to be... I'm using an acrylic paint, and acrylics dry a lot faster, but they don't dry instantly. So, I'm just inspecting right now. I'm gonna put the gloves in, at least rough in the gloves. And for that, I'm using this leather brown. This is one of my older paints, actually, so hopefully it's still good. And I really only need the tiniest amount because there's not all that much glove to do. I'm also switching to a slightly smaller brush. Just to control where the paint goes a little better. And you can see it's a very sort of orange-brown, but when you put an Umber Wash over that, it makes a very convincing leather color. So I will be hitting this this brown with a Umber Wash later. So I've roughed in his gloves. Brush off. I'll be coming back and tackling that later as well. Another thing I'm going to rough in next is the hem of his Gambeson here. For that, I'm going to be using a polished gold, because he's kind of ostentatious. I'm probably going to use for the sword more of a brass color. A little less yellow and a little redder. But for this, running along the front here. I will be putting in this gold color. And it's a little thinner, a little more translucent, so it might need an extra coat down the line. And any little bits that might be wrong, I'm not too worried about at this stage, because there's a whole lot of detail to do afterwards. But it gives you a sense of what's what by doing this now. So. Just rough those in. Obviously, there's a little that got on the inside. That'll be part of the cleanup process. Another thing I'm going to do with the gold here is that brooch I mentioned back when I was doing the cloak. Right up here. I'm going to base coat it with the gold as well. I might put like a gemstone in it. But I want to get the basic color on it to be gold. Alright. Let me see how the cloak is drying. So the cloak, like here, you can see that's where the primer didn't hold the paint. And there's more like that. They're smaller specks, but it's something you'll want to clean up. And another thing is, typically you would want to... So this is injection molded. You can see there's actually a little artifact right here. Maybe you can see it. That little flange is where the plastic actually like extruded a little bit. Typically, if you weren't showing the pros and cons of it, you would clean those up beforehand. In this case, I'm just going to take an X-Acto knife and pull that little flange off now because it bothers me. And just taking a look. Alright, so I think the next thing I'm going to tackle is the face and hair in my roughing in of colors. Actually, one thing I'm noticing is I should have done, because it's still viable, the leather brown, he has like a little strap here, presumably for a sword or something. So I'm just gonna at least mark it in with the wet brown I have out still. Like that. It doesn't seem to have it on the other side. It must be like a sword. I think they're called frogs, actually. The little, like, sword holder-y things. Okay. So. I need to do the... Actually, there's also another spot where I need to put some of the leather brown in. Right under the brooch, he has a strap that goes down there. So this will all get cleaned up and detailed, but things like that are part of it. I am going to be... yeah, I'll tackle the face in here. So... doing the face first, I'm gonna be doing this sort of beigey color, and then there's gonna be a wash over the top of it later. But I need to get that base coat in. So, right around the face here, and I'm going a little over the hair because I want to make sure that I get this whole thing covered. It looks like, even though it's an elf, the ears are maybe covered by hair. It's a little hard to tell, because the figure isn't the highest resolution in the world. You know, for a fairly, relatively inexpensive figure, it's not too bad, but... get down around the neck. Okay. And then he also has the back of his neck is visible. Just above the cloak because his hair is pulled up into this braid. What I want to do is just roughly get that in. And it's okay if I have to clean the cloak up a little. I have to anyway from where the primer didn't hold. So it's really not a big deal. Alright, so I have the base coat for his skin in. And then for his hair, I think I'm gonna go with the NATO black. Yeah. And the main thing will be getting this big long braid. Got it. A little hard to open. Get my brush nice and clean. Alright, so the nice thing with the NATO black is it's not like a saturated black, it's sort of this warm charcoal black. And I'm trying to judge. It looks to me like he has these two sort of side hair thingies coming down the front. Kind of an anime style hair. Yeah. And I'm trying to be gentle, but also the primer is not working with me here. It's not adhering as well as I'd like. So one consideration is if you're buying a piece like this, it might be worth getting a proper primer and just priming it again. Because, especially on little spots like this, I'm really sort of struggling to, against the primer, basically. let's get the hair across the top of the face. And excess goes back across the head. Like so. Yeah, this is where the primer's really... I don't know if it just didn't get coated enough. But like, when I bring my brush on it, it almost is peeling the paint back off of the figure. Rather than adding more. It's actually quite annoying. So. But it's all part of this test I'm running. I wanted to see how it all goes. Go down the side here. Not super clear to me what's the intent with the cloak here. Like, I feel like that's not hair on that shoulder, but I don't know what else it could be. So what I'm gonna do is leave it blank for now, and I'll probably paint it silver and make it integrated in the armor. Rather than have like a weird bundle of hair, basically. Gonna keep going up the hair, and then I'll be going down along this braid, this extra long braid that he has. Fighting with the primer all along the way. What I think happens is basically these things are injection molded and shoved down a line, and there's just like a car paint sort of mechanical arm thing that just sprays a primer on them, and it doesn't get the best coat. And I'm sure they're choosing their primer for value rather than quality. What it feels like, at least. But as I get this base coat on, it should at least be easier. So, I have most of the base coat on. I haven't touched the sword yet. But I'm kind of blocking in what colors I want where. a bit here. So one thing I'm going to do is clean up the spots on the cloak where the paint didn't quite adhere correctly. And I'm also going to take the silver I have while it's still usable and integrate this little doohickey that's under his hair here. Since I don't know what the intent is. Maybe it's like one of those little like metal plates that you put right in front of your armpit on plate mail to protect from getting stabbed up and under. But whatever it is part of the armor now. Alright. And then I'm going to clean this brush again. Here. Just so I don't have to have a mess of a cup to clean later. Clean that off. Alright, now I'm going to quickly get the cloak painted in and the sword roughed in. And then I will take a little break here while let all this dry, get more coffee, and I will be going in and doing cleanup, details, all that sort of business. So, what I want to do first is tackle this cloak. A couple spots around the neck and head that need tune and clean up. And it's mostly just spots where the primer didn't hold the paint. All along the back here. It's especially prominent in when you have a fur texture like this, where I think what happens is the paint kind of pulls itself together. Yeah, I know. Thank you, Yuo. Yep, that was my plan. I'm gonna run some ads while I'm on break. Ugh, the hair will need cleaning too. There's so many little spots where the primer did not hold it. It's quite annoying. Alright, anyway. So, for the sword, I'm gonna go with brass for the fittings, the pommel and everything. I don't need much, just a little dab. And I'll use my smaller brush. So, for the hilt and the pommel, there's also like a little gemstone slot in the hilt thing here. I'm not gonna add that until near the very end when I'm doing the finer details, because I will just probably paint over it accidentally. But this is just the rough coat, the rough base coat, so I don't need to worry too much here. Alright. So there's the sword pommel roughed in with the bronze. And then I'm gonna take a tiny dab of silver for the blade. Don't need much. Alright. Start up here and go down along the blade. And what I'm doing is basically the equivalent of a sketch. I'm sort of sketching my figure here right now. There'll be plenty of cleanup and lines and defining and saturating colors, all of that good stuff down the line here. But for now, what I really want, at least in my method, is to define where and what everything is. I'm taking this opportunity with the silver to just cover one or two of the more egregious spots. Alright, so it's super duper rough. It's not shaded or anything like that. You know, there's no details put in or anything. There's cleanup that needs to happen, but here's a sort of like the rough sketch of my elf guy. You can at least make out what everything tends to be, is ultimately what we got here. So I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna go on a quick break, get more coffee. When we come back, I'm gonna be cleaning up a whole lot of this, adding detail, shading, basically making it look better. This is basically how you're gonna get a pre-painted mini, a factory one. It's gonna look similar to this, so I think we can do better, and we will. So, I'll be right back. I'm gonna run an ad or so on break, and stick around. I have about 2 more hours of this, and we'll see how far we can get on Mr. Elf Knight. Mr. Elf Knight. So, thanks for sticking with me so far, and I'll see you soon. Alright, I'm learning all my new buttons. Here's my break button. Hi, welcome back. Sorry, that break was a little longer than normal. And I forgot my coffee. We had 2 wasps get in the house, and we had to take care of that before they stung anyone. So, yeah, that was exciting. While I was gone, thank you for the follow, Booster Gold Star. That's really nice of you. Thank you very much. So, this guy's kind of dried. I have my rough colors in on my camera here. I shifted things. That was weird. Alright. So I have my rough colors in on my Elven Knight here. It's very messy still, obviously. But we're heading in the right direction, considering we started from unpainted. Trying to identify what I am seeing here. Okay. So that's a spot I'm going to want to fill in with green. Oh, thank you. I was brought coffee from beyond. Yeah, the wasp really threw off my, well, 2 wasps really threw off my, my normal break. So I have my rough elf knight in. So my process is basically going to be going through, cleaning up various colors, getting all the lines well defined, make sure the coat of paint is on thoroughly where I want it. And then I'm going to start doing some color shift on the cloak here with a darker gray. You know, break that up a little bit of black wash eventually on the silver armor. You know, there's a whole lot of little things to do, basically. And there's some gemstones that I'm going to put in near the end. But it was important to get this sort of base coat in. So, what I'm going to do is bring this over. I'm going to start with one spot that I just recently identified as needing a little touching up, and that's using this darker green. I will get right into it. There's a little hidden spot deep inside the cloaks here that I did not see on my first pass. To get that covered up. Okay, and another thing I want to clean up is the hair. There's a lot of little spots on the hair that you may or may not be able to see where the primer did not take. I was going for... There we go. So there's these little, basically white spots where the primer should be and isn't. Well, where it's just showing primer, I should say. Better get that hair cleaned. Can who do a flip? Can or what do a flip? Cap is a little gummy. I'll have to clean that up later. Okay. So, looking over all of this, the gold obviously needs a little cleaning, as well as some of the green. I'm kind of gonna hold off on the silver for cleaning until the end, because there's a lot on top of the silver. So it will invariably need to get cleaned up down the road here. So I'm just doing a lot of observation here, trying to make sure I have a plan for where and what I want everything to be. In this case, I'm going to take a little more of this green, clean up this area here. Perfect. So while that dries, I'm going to let that dry before I tackle the gold. So what I might do is do some cloak shading. I'm gonna bring in a dark gray. On this cloak right now is a neutral gray, and I'm gonna bring in some dark gray. The question is, where do I want that dark gray? Do I want him to... I feel like having a darker up around the shoulder area might be kind of cooler. I guess. I don't know. We'll see. I'll do it and see if I like it. So, for that, I need my dark gray. And I'm not gonna get this, like, thoroughly coated. I'm gonna do more of a dry brush on it to kind of just get some patterning in the fur. So what that involves is basically getting paint on your brush and then dabbing off a lot of it. And generally speaking, this is only gonna then hit like the high points on the fur. And the grays are quite similar that I'm using. So ideally, it's just gonna create some variation in the fur as I go down it. And then there's gonna be a lot more variation added in with a wash shade at the end. But you can sort of see how it just breaks up what is otherwise a very mono, overwhelmingly gray single coat color, and helps bring out that fur texture, just doing a simple dry brush along the back. Here, it creates that variation that I'm looking for. And dry brushing can be very effective especially when you're dealing with something that has well-pronounced bumps and high points on it. In your application, you generally kind of want to just skate along the top to kind of create that variation. And I'm going to do the same around the front, because even though it's like a fur, it seems to be the same texture all the way around in this figure. Breaking up that solid gray will help. That's a bit better, getting that darker gray dry brushed over the top. Now the part that's really going to ultimately pull all of this together is going to be when I put the wash on and do some shading at the end. It looks very flat up until then. Good. A little more of the hair refined. Gummy cap. Right here, there's a little spot that I wanna thicken up, get more the hair in, and there's a spot here and here that the primer didn't hold. There's also a little thing on the hair itself where the braid is sort of held in place. When I hit the gold, I'll probably do that in gold as well. Get a little gold on it. Which I might do now, actually. We're kind of getting into what are the, I call the Fussy Bits. There's a lot of little bits and bobs that need just tiny bits of touching up, tiny bits of cleanup, things like that. Sometimes your first coat doesn't cover everything, that sort of thing. So you can see where I'm talking about right here on the hair. There's sort of this braid holder. You know, it could be like a cloth wrap. It could be metal. This guy, I don't know, feels a little ostentatious, so I'm gonna go with metal. And I'll have to clean up the edges a little. Get that in there. So I'll have to clean up the hair around it a little bit, but I'm applying more than I normally would like to because the gold is sort of translucent. And it does not coat evenly and thickly. So that gives you an idea of where the hair holder is, though. And since I have some gold out, this is the time I want to start cleaning up his gold trim along here. Start getting in more gold trim where it needs to be. So I'm gonna go out a little bit into the green because it'll be easier for me to push the green up against it than it is to define this edge. I actually got too little gold out. sort of getting that gold edge in. I'll have to clean it up a little on one side, but it went in pretty smooth, all things considered. So this is where we start getting more and more finicky in the details. I'm gonna do a little with the leather brown next to start defining some of these straps a little better. Well, actually, the brown's not too bad right now. I think I might tackle the green and the silver soon. I'm just twisting it around and checking different spots. Having coffee. I'm gonna take my flat green. That's this lighter green that's on the sides here. I'm gonna start cleaning up this edge. Camera, aren't I? There we go. Put that away. Make sure to knock your brushes over. Now I'm pulling out this dark green again in order to clean up one little spot. Really don't need much paint here. And I made a mess there. That's okay. That is what the back and forth of detail work is for. Trying to define some of his little under armor Gambeson-y pieces. There's a lot of little back and forths that happen with that. Brushing. There we go. I should close this paint. Oh. That should be okay. So what I want to do now, I'm going to clean up the hair around his little top knot braid thing. The little holder for it. So to do that, I'm going to take his hair color and go up to the gold. Okay, that's starting to feel a little better. I think the part that's really gonna need the most work in the near future here is the silver. That's where a lot of spillage has happened, basically. Once I clean up around the brooch here on the cloak, I might switch to silver. So, the silver has just a whole lot of little spots. To it. Oh, I don't need a ton of silver, hopefully. Just a little spot. And a dry clean brush would be nice. Alright, so with my little bit of silver here, I'm gonna touch up around like the leather, around the hair, around the pommel actually has some of the most egregious spillover. And I find when getting up against another color, especially in a very tight space, oftentimes it's better to push the paint rather than try and spread it on. Along the strap here, needs a little touching up. Right under the glove. So, we're cleaning up alright on the silver here. The legs are going to be the real pain, honestly. Down along the bottom of the cuirass here. The back of the hand. A little bronze that got on there. Trying to better define where the armor starts and stops here as best as I can with the resolution on this specific model. It's not always the easiest thing to tell. Okay. That's looking cleaner. The part that's gonna be harder to tackle is the feet, so... well, the legs in this case. But there's the odd spot here and there that you need to clean up and get, you know, maybe a little green got on it, or whatever it is. Right along the back of the foot here, I got a little green down there. And technically on the underside back, it's got some green here. So I'm gonna reach under the cape and try my best to not make a mess. Alright, not too shabby. Now I want to check the sword, because the sword is also the same silver here. Like, I want to make sure the backside has at least a little silver going on it. There's like a little spot of green on the blade here that happened. Things like that. You just want to go through, clean them all up. Make sure it's all looking right. I know I have to clean up a little bit of green there, but I wanted to try and get that edge proper. Okay, so I think there's a little leather cleanup to do with this leather brown, mostly on his little side straps. I just need a tiny bit of that. Get all the water off of my brush. There you go. Alright. So up by the brooch here, there's a little gold that got on the strap. So I want to clean that up. And right here, on his sort of sword belt thing, it didn't get as heavily coated as I'd like. In my first pass. So I'll have to clean that little spot along the bottom of the belt up, but that'll be easy. Hopefully, easy. Okay. I feel like the gloves are pretty solid. I'm happy with the gloves, so I'm not gonna mess with those. Which means I'm gonna take now the black green and get a couple cleanups there. So for a lot of these tiny line cleanups, you actually generally want to just, you drop the paint down in the area that, in the color you want, and sort of push up towards where you want it. It gives you a lot more control over where the paint goes. Okay. I think he's starting to shape up here. We're inching towards being ready to do all sorts of shading and washing and stuff like that. So a couple things I'll want to do with that. I'm gonna let this dry, and I don't know how many times I'm supposed to hit the add button here in a reasonable stream, but I'm gonna give him a second to dry. I'm gonna put in some detailing, some red gems on the sword and his brooch up here, things like that. Make him look a little even fancier than he is. Before I get too much into the shading. But before I do that, I'm gonna hit the add button, because I probably am supposed to. I don't know. Alright. Clean up my brush. No idea how long ads are. Okay. one thing I'm seeing is I need a little bit of my gold on the underside of... Bump that up a little. There we go. Alright, so he's looking okay. He's very flat, obviously, because I haven't put any wash or shading on him yet. But before I do that, I'm gonna do some details. I want to work on the face a tiny bit and put some gemstones in. So I'm trying to get a good sense of his face here. He almost... Now, this is not the highest resolution figure. He almost looks like he has a mustache, but I don't think he does. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get some little red gemstones on. So for that, I'm gonna use this scarlet red, which is a nice deep red. I need like the smallest amount, please. Close. Okay. So get a little pinprick. And almost like I'm frosting a cake here, I am gonna sort of get it in the middle and work it out towards the edges. Maybe a little further down from the top. Yeah, sort of a red blazoned thing. Just adding a touch more in the middle. Alright, so the next spot is there's like a tiny little gem right on the sword. Like that. I'm trying to see if there's any other spots where I might want a red highlight. Like those. There is some like embroidery stuff going down this. I'm gonna just test. If I don't like it, maybe something like that to sort of break up the gold. I think that's alright. Probably have to go back over it with gold a little bit to clean up some of those spots, but maybe something like that to sort of give him a fancy look. Alright, so here we go. My gold's getting a little gummy, my little dot of gold, so I'm gonna put out one more dot here. What I want to do is just sort of clean up these spots I put on, see how they look when they're not as spotty. Very focused in here, so sorry if I get a little quiet. Yeah, I don't think I love them. What I'll probably do is just do more of a shading effect on the gold here. So, I'm just gonna cover them up. Easy to do. While I have the gold here, I'm gonna little brooch cleaning. This is all the like real tiny back and forth that happens before I can go to shading. No. Light green. Clean up that little spot. There we go. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna do a little face work here. On a miniature like this, you're gonna have a real hard time making like realistic eyes. So it's actually generally better to make sort of the impression of eyes. But regardless of whether you're going for realistic or impression, you actually generally want to put in your dark colors and then build up on top of that. At least that's how I do it. So I'm going to take a little bit of this charcoal black, and at the very least I'm going to gently put in an eyebrow here. And there. The eyebrows will help sell you on where the face is. Right? So now you have some eyebrows. And I'm going to also take a little bit of the black and put delicate little dark area underneath the eyebrow where the eye sockets are. And I'm not going to leave them dark like this, but I want to get that sort of darker shade in there. And when you're working with something this small and delicate, it's okay to be a little slow. So I'm gonna give those eye sockets a second to dry before I tackle any more on them. In the meantime, I'm gonna do a second coat over this red here, which is still showing a little through the gold. Just cover up that experiment. Pretend it didn't happen. Alright. So with that small amount of paint, the eye socket area should be a little clearer. Another thing I can do, and this will seem weird, is help define where the mouth is a little bit. I'm going to put a black line where like the mouth seam is, and it'll probably be a little wider than I want it, which is to be expected. So it looks like they're wearing goth makeup right now. But I'm going to go back over with the skin color I'm using and get rid of about 80-90% of this black I'm putting on to create a really thin defined line. Hopefully. So, what I'm gonna do is, this is the color I was using for the skin tone. A small brush here, make sure the fibers are more or less aligned. And I'm just getting a tiny amount on my brush. And I'm gonna go back over. Where I want to remove that black. Gonna do the same with the eye socket. Going back over it with the skin color. Messed up the mouth here. But in my defense, it's not very clear on the figure where the mouth is either. So I'm going to do a little more back and forth on that. adding little layers here and there. Back with the black. Brush aligned. I'm gonna make him a little frownier. It looks really funny when you just have the black on. It's a little too much, but it will be reduced. Alright, so he seems kind of like an angry elf. So I'm making him a little frownier. Because this is a injection molded mini, it's not like the best detail quality. It's not like a high resolution resin printer would get you. And that's just sort of something that you have to manage depending on what mini you're painting, the different resolutions. So let's go back. Find these eye sockets. Its mouth line a little. Sometimes it just doesn't work, let's be honest. So, because the resolution on this figure is not where I would like it to be, I'm gonna use I'm gonna try and get a little bit of a mouth using wash down the line here. And if you don't have the mouth fully rendered, no one's gonna care, honestly. Pretty happy with that left eye socket, so I'm just gonna clear up this right one. Maybe I'll try and give him an iris color. I don't know, green feels appropriate, right? Given his color scheme so far. That'll do. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this brighter green quick. I'll use that for the eyeball. So one thing you're not really gonna see on people, let alone on a tiny scale, are the whites of the eyes. Like, if you look even at my eyes here, they're not like bright white. There's a lot of shadow, there's blood vessels, there's all sorts of stuff in it. So, and then if you scale down to this size, the ability to see any white quickly becomes 0. So it's better, actually, if you want to paint in the eyes, which you really don't need to take the iris color and make that your sort of Alright, so I have green put in. Now what I want to do, because when you drop a dot in there, it ends up getting a little googly-eyed. Just does, because you're putting in a dot of paint on a very small area. So what you can do then is sort of bring up the skin color, whatever your skin color you're using is, up below the eye a little bit to reduce that googly effect. Hopefully, I don't have to repaint everything. It turned out alright. So, the next thing I want to do is give this miniature a very thorough once-over, basically, to assess if there's any changes I need to make before I do any shading over it. So, what I have right now is a decently painted miniature with no shading, so it has a very flat look to it. Especially on the silver, where there's all this intricate plating. It all gets washed out because it's all one solid silver, basically. And the gloves just become, you know, an orange leather color blob, basically. So, what I want to do, I know I'm going to use a black wash for the silver, for example, and an umber wash for the face and the hands, for example. I'll probably also be using a light black washing on the cloak to help bring out some more of the variation in there, especially down in these creases. And I'll probably run a black wash up along the green outer part of his armor here. So what I want to do, though, before I do anything with shading, is check and make sure I'm happy with where everything else is. And for example, I found a little spot on the hair that needs a touch-up. I think I got a little bit of the gold from the brooch on his little front hair thing. So I can clean up and prepare it. since I'm here, I'm gonna do tiny bits of touching up on the hair on top of his head. Check the braid and everything like that. And one thing I'm noticing is there's actually a little wrap at the end of the braid here. So, that's another thing to paint in. Now the question is, do I want to do gold there like I have on the other part, the top part here? Or is that maybe a fabric? Because he's going to be swinging his sword around and doesn't want to smack himself. Maybe I'll do a little green fabric there, for example. So, I'm going to take my black green. Going with my sort of color theme on this guy. Let's paint this braid holder and braid holder. That's what it is. Probably. Okay, so it's pretty subtle against the black, but adds a little extra touch of green, I suppose, to his overall outfit. Close that up. Clean off my brush. And then I'm gonna go back to the hair color and finish touching up on the hair. So like it didn't adhere as much as I'd like to the very tip here, for example. And one thing I also have noticed as I do this braid is that I need to clean up around the braid up on the cloak. There's a little bleed over that's happening. So I want my gray that I did the cloak in. So this I want to be a bit careful with. And generally my approach is plant it outside and push up towards. I think that'll be good. So, I am gonna give him a quick once over here. I feel like we're just about ready to wash, which is good. I have about 40 minutes or so. Let's see. The black wash I used from earlier is still okay, so I'm gonna start with that. And I'm gonna want to be very controlled about this, so I'm gonna grab a little extra paper towel here. There's gonna be a lot of dabbing off of wash from my small brush here, because I want to control the volume quite a lot. But I know I need wash in the armor, for example, to help bring out those plates, the design of this piece. So you can start to see where the silver armor is going as I go down the arm here. And the big areas I really want to get washed into are sort of the cracks, the crevices, and the dividing areas to sort of break up different spots. And it will generally work with you, actually. It's a very... most of the time it works with you, and when it decides not to work with you, it really doesn't. That's how I would describe wash. But you can see there's a lot more on this arm versus this arm. A lot more detail about where plates are and stuff. And I can always step that up more if I want to. I'm trying to not overwhelm the piece with wash. So I'm doing very slow, deliberate washing. Unlike the washing I did at the beginning on the dungeon tiles. And one thing you can generally do is, if you have ridges like on this plate mail, if you pull the brush along those ridges, the wash will get sort of sucked out, pushed out by the ridge. Because what I really want to do is get the black wash under those ridges so they become more defined. Basically getting shadows where you would expect shadows to be. So deeper crevices should be darker, for example. What I don't want to do is remove all the luster from this armor. Yeah, here. Trying to get the right angle. Get this on. I don't know why Twitch doesn't like you. You're lovable. Close to done on this armor here. I'm mostly happy with it. Just trying to define a few more spots. But you can see how much that silver gets toned down, and you can start to see all of the different areas in this armor, which is nice. And see where the arms are, for example. And the hands will look a lot nicer once I wash those gloves. But one little thing at a time. Alright, I'm gonna move down from the armor onto the green here. That actually has a lot of wrinkles in the design. So what I'm gonna do is deposit in the furthest back spot, deposit some wash, where you'd expect the most shading, and then start pulling it forward over those ridges. Hopefully that will clear that up a little. I'm gonna put a gentle amount of black wash down the gold here. I don't want to remove its luster, but I want to bring the texture out a little, make it less flat. It's sort of a slow and steady wins the race situation here. Gonna end the sword hill to live. I'm gonna do the same on the pommel. Okay, coming along. Let's get this side. I'm actually going to deposit a fair amount in this little crack here. And work it back out, spreading it around. Especially over these folds in the cloth. I'm trying to avoid this little leather belt over here because I want to do that in an Umber Wash later. So I'm going up and over it. And then working down all of this. I want to get the leggings a little shaded in so it matches the armor above. And then I'll eventually get to really tackle this base that he's standing on. Right now I've left it unpainted and kind of messy. Just so I didn't have to worry about it while I was getting him painted in. Okay. He's coming along. There's a few spots where I need Umber Wash, the gloves and the face specifically. And the leather spots. But first, I think I'm going to start tackling the cloak here as I get more and more painted in. Okay. So, I'm going to do a similar system that I did for the green, for the cloak here. Try and work the darker parts in and sort of build out from them, that sort of thing. Hopefully make him a little more menacing as I get him shaded in. Get his cloak darker, that sort of thing. Sort of getting this shoulder brooch thing going. What I really want actually is to get the dark wash on the underside of the brooch here, and that'll help it sort of pop out a little from the cloak, subtly at least. And as I move away from the rest of the figure and get out to where it's just cloak, basically, I'm probably gonna switch brushes to something a little bigger. Just because I have a lot more coverage area here on the back. And it will flow with gravity. So I'm holding him facing forward, hoping that the wash will flow into the crevices of the cloak here. It's a little shiny, so it's hard to see on camera. But hopefully as it dries, that means that the low points in the fur will be darker than the high points. That's the goal, at least. As well as just sort of creating a general variation across the whole cloak. because it's such a it's very textured, well textured, and back here, I kind of want to use the wash to play into that. Use it to my advantage, basically. So I'm gonna actually hold it like this for a minute while it dries off. Clean off a brush or two with my other hand. I just want it to sort of set in those crevices and not run out. So, I mostly just need to tackle where the Umber Wash is at this point. I have a lot of drying areas. It's going to stay a little shiny for an hour. As the wash dries, it will matte out a little bit, which I want. But the gloves are obviously out of place, and the face is still obviously a bit out of place. So, but I want to tackle those with an Umber Wash rather than a black wash. So, because the cape seems okay, I'm going to find my Umber Wash right over here. Get a cup. Shake it up first. Wash especially can settle a lot. Where the pigment and like the thin liquidy part separates. I really shouldn't need much on here. Just like 2 drops. Alright, so I'm gonna start with the gloves. A lot like I did with the armor. I really want to get the wash to sink in between the fingers, for example. To help separate and define those fingers. And it's a lot easier to do it with a wash than to try and do it manually. It is possible to do it manually, but if you don't need to, why would you? So you can see already how much that wash helps those gloves. Alright, likewise, I want to get a tiny bit of wash along these straps that he has, just to tone them in a little. These leather bits that he has going on. Tone them down, get a little variation happening. A little. Alright, and now I'm gonna try and tackle the face. So, this is gonna be one of those delicate operations. Like, I want to get under the chin where it's going to be darker. And I'm trying to bring out the contours in the face here. It's actually almost more important to occasionally dry your brush and use it to pull away wash while it's still wet than it is to get the wash on in the right spot. And I can see one spot where I'm gonna go in with the base skin tone and lighten it up again. But for now, I want to actually go around and get the back of the neck here with the Umber Wash as well. So it matches a bit. Now, I'm going to take the skin color base that I have that this elf has been painted in, and I notice a little bit where I want basically, I'm creating highlights now, where the light will be the most on this person. So it's going to be like the forehead, the top of the nose, wherever light hits the most on a person's face. That's sort of where I'm bringing highlights in. mostly happy with that. Almost spilled my black wash everywhere. But I didn't. That's the important part. The last sort of step I'm gonna do, I am edging in towards both being done with this and being done with the stream. I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna gently add in some black wash on the hair to add a little subtle variation in where its hair is. This isn't gonna show a ton, honestly, but when you're looking at it in person especially, those little subtle changes in dark and light will help sell the piece to you, basically. Your brain will go, ah, I know what that is, more easily. And I'm keeping the sword kind of shiny. I might put a tiny bit of controlled wash on it just to help bring it out a little, bring a little variation into it, but not terribly much. I think I'm pretty happy with that. The big thing now will be the base. Not screwing up the feet too much as I paint in the base. Or hitting all sorts of other parts of the figure. But I think he's looking pretty good otherwise. So, I'm thinking for the base, he has a lot of darks and greens and stuff in his armor. As I round out here, I'm probably gonna do flat earth for the base. It's a nice lighter gray. Usually you want your figure to sort of stand out against the base. Use the base as like a thing to help highlight the figure and the shape of the figure rather than blend in with it. So to that effect, what I'm gonna do is start to work in towards the feet with the flat earth here. And ideally, I won't get it all over the model that I just painted. But I find doing this last step really helps the whole look and feel of the figure. And as he dries, a lot of like the reflectiveness on this wash that he has on will start to subside. Getting on the underside here is gonna be the tricky part. But not as bad as the scorpion was, with all those little feet. Ugh, that took forever. As I just take my time and approach correctly, it's not too bad. I sort of feel like I'm tempting fate by painting the base last. But I don't like having a painted base and then having to like keep fixing it as I drip paint on it. I don't know. It's just sort of a personal preference thing, I suppose. That wasn't so bad. Alright, now I'm gonna let him dry on here for a while. But I think I'm pretty happy with him, and it's just about 2. I don't know. What is it? Does anyone have any thoughts on him? I'll take better pictures than this camera can provide later on. I think he came out alright, considering it's an injection molded plastic figure that's pretty cheap. Not very expensive, and it came pre-primed with, you like the dark cloak? It came pre-primed with a pretty crappy primer and everything. See, another thing you can do for your D&D is it comes with these little plastic discs, so you, after it's done, you can glue them onto the disc, and they're like a 1-inch for the grid system. It's pretty Tashira Noon. The green is a little hard to see in the camera, but his whole lower kilt area is all green. It's just a little dark on this camera when it's up against the gray. But all of that's green, that little center part's green, all of that's green. He has a green braid holder over here. So he has a fair amount of green. Yeah. These cameras don't always pick up the absolute best colors, unfortunately, but they're able to be mounted right here, which is very convenient because I can move them around. I should probably close up this paint. I'm just sitting here chatting, and I left this paint sitting open. Yeah. So I'm gonna give him a chance to dry. Maybe I have some more of the same style minis. So I have like this guy here with 2 swords. Might tackle him next. He has a lot lighter armor with more designs. So this armor will be a lot more conducive to sort of Tashira coloration. And the 2 sword thing is also a Tashira thing in our campaign. So this guy will probably be pretty Tashira when we get to him. But these guys came in a 2-pack. You know, it's not the highest quality plastic, it's not the highest quality make, but for the price, and they're primed, but the primer isn't great. But, you know, if you're looking to get into painting and want to practice on some more detailed figures, they're a pretty affordable way to start doing that. More than buying a 3D printer right off the bat, learning how to use it, and finding prints that you can print or making your own designs. But I'm gonna take some pictures. We'll post them up on Instagram and stuff later on, after he's dried, and we'll see how it all looks. So it's about 2. It's a little before 2. I'm probably gonna end here. I want to say thank you to everyone who sorry, just checking my phone here, seeing if anyone is on for rating. No, it's not a huge group right now, but yeah. So I got through a whole mini in one stream, and I got all of these tiles washed as well. So here's our guy. This is what he'll look like in the dungeon. Alright, you all. I'll do that. Alright, so stick around, everyone. I'm gonna put us up on an end screen and do our little rating. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. Thank you for the new subs, the new follows, everything. And we will be having our one-shot, our Western one-shot this Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern here on Twitch. Yeah, so check that out as well. Alright. I'm going to raid Rhymius, and yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.